It's funny how some places just stay with you. They haunt your mind, even when you try to push them away. That's how Amanda felt about Letcher's amusement park. Growing up, it had been a big deal in their small town. Flashing lights, the smell of fried dough, and the sound of kids laughing. But after the accident, the gates were locked, the rides abandoned, and the stories started. Everyone said the place was cursed, but Amanda needed answers. Amanda wasn't an adventurer by any stretch. She worked an average job, lived in an average apartment, and had always been content to let the world's mysteries stay exactly that. Mysteries. But something about Letcher's amusement park wouldn't let her rest. Her mom used to tell her stories about the park, how it had been magical, a place where families came together. But Amanda's mom never talked about the accident, and whenever Amanda asked, her mom's face would cloud over, and she'd change the subject. It was only after her mom passed away that Amanda found the newspaper clippings. They were tucked into an old photo album, wedged between pictures of Amanda as a baby and a family picnic at the lake. Headlines screamed, "Horror at Letcher's, Ride Malfunction Claims 5 Lives." Witnesses report strange sounds before fatal accident. Owner vanishes amid controversy. Amanda stared at the yellowed paper, her hands trembling. Her mom had known something she'd kept hidden. That's how Amanda found herself standing at the rusted gates of Letcher's on a cold October night, a flashlight in one hand and her phone in the other. She told herself it was just curiosity, that she just wanted to see it for herself. But deep down, she knew she was chasing a ghost. The gates were heavier than they looked, screeching on their hinges as Amanda pushed them open. Beyond, the park lay in eerie silence. The roller coaster tracks rose into the dark sky like skeletal remains, and the carousel sat still, its once bright colors faded and peeling. Amanda stepped inside, the crunch of gravel under her boots the only sound. She swung her flashlight around, illuminating the decayed remnants of what had once been a place of joy. A broken popcorn machine here, a torn ticket booth there. She made her way toward the heart of the park, where the accident had happened. The clippings had been vague about the details, but they all pointed to the Ferris wheel. As Amanda approached, the temperature seemed to drop. Her breath came out in visible puffs and her flashlight started to flicker. She tapped it against her palm, muttering under her breath. Then she heard it. Laughter. Not the warm, cheerful kind she remembered from her childhood, but high-pitched, almost distorted. It echoed through the park, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Amanda froze, her heart pounding. She scanned the darkness, but there was no one there. "It's just the wind," she whispered to herself. But the tremor in her voice said otherwise. The Ferris wheel loomed ahead, its carriages swaying gently in the breeze. Amanda approached cautiously, the flashlight trembling in her grip. The laughter had stopped, but the silence was somehow worse. As she reached the base of the wheel, she noticed something strange. The ground beneath it was scorched, blackened in a perfect circle. Amanda knelt down, running her fingers over the charred earth. "What happened here?" she muttered. A sudden clang made her jump, her flashlight tumbling from her hands. It rolled a few feet before stopping, the beam landing on a pair of feet. Amanda's breath hitched. Slowly she looked up. Standing before her was a man in a faded park uniform, his face pale and his eyes empty. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice hollow. Amanda scrambled back, her heart racing. "Who are you?" The man didn't answer. He just turned and started walking toward the carousel. Against every instinct screaming at her to run, Amanda followed. The carousel was just as eerie as the rest of the park. The horses were cracked and weathered, their painted eyes staring blankly ahead. The man stopped in front of one, his hand resting on its chipped mane. "They never fixed it," he said softly. "What are you talking about?" Amanda asked, keeping her distance. The gears were faulty. The owner knew, but he didn't care, said it would cost too much to fix. The man turned to her, and for the first time Amanda noticed the faint burn scars on his hands. 5 people died because of him, and now they're trapped here. Amanda's mouth went dry. "Trapped?" He nodded. "They can't leave, and neither can I." Before Amanda could respond, the carousel sprang to life. The music was warped, the notes dragging and twisting into something nightmarish. The horses began to move, their once static bodies jerking as though they were alive. Amanda stumbled back, her flashlight beam bouncing wildly. "What's happening?" "They're coming," the man said, his voice barely audible over the cacophony. "Who?" The laughter returned, louder and closer this time. Amanda spun around, her heart pounding. Shadows darted between the rides, too quick to catch. "Run!" the man said. Amanda didn't need to be told twice. She bolted, her flashlight bobbing as she weaved through the park. The laughter followed her, growing louder, more frenzied. She tripped over a broken bench, landing hard on the gravel. As she scrambled to her feet, she realized she wasn't alone. Figures emerged from the shadows, their forms flickering like static on a screen. Their faces were distorted, their features twisted into masks of anguish and rage. Amanda backed away, her mind racing. This isn't real. This can't be real. But the figures kept coming, their hollow eyes fixed on her. "Help me!" she screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the laughter. Just when she thought she was done for, a blinding light filled the park. The figures recoiled, their forms dissolving into the shadows. Amanda shielded her eyes, squinting to see the source. It was the man. He stood at the center of the park, holding what looked like a lantern. The light pulsed, driving the shadows back. "They can't hold you here," he called out. "But you have to leave. Now." Amanda didn't argue. She ran for the gates, her legs burning and her lungs screaming for air. The laughter faded as she crossed the threshold, collapsing onto the pavement outside. When she looked back, the park was dark and silent once more. Amanda never went back to Letcher's amusement park, but she couldn't forget what she'd seen or the man who had saved her. Weeks later, she found an old photo of the park's employees in her mom's belongings. Her blood ran cold when she spotted him, standing in the back row, his face unmistakable. The caption read, "Letcher's staff, 1975. He'd been dead for over 40 years. Subscribe if you want more terrifying tales. Don't forget to watch the next video.